So today's conversation is going to be about mixed race matters. Someone who watches my channel sent me a message on Instagram, and the person is biracial like myself, similar genetic makeup, I think Czech and Sudanese, which is very interesting, Afropean biracial person. And they were questioning one of the things that I said about being mixed race. Let me read the message first. Hi Monika, I have been watching and enjoying your YouTube channel and have come across one of your recent videos about the mixed race identity. I just wanted to ask you about a comment you made there. You said that being mixed race is not the most important one of your identities. I find this interesting because you say, I am Polish, I am Nigerian, and these identities are more important than being a mixed race person. Or a mixed person, she says here, but obviously the context she stated in the beginning, which is mixed race identity, right? So I am taking it as mixed race person. However, when you are in Poland, as you mentioned, Polish people can hardly believe you are Polish. Random people are asking you, how come you speak Polish so well, etc. On the other hand, it must also be difficult to identify as Nigerian when you only spent 2 weeks in Nigeria, do not speak the language, etc. It seems to me that you cannot just be Polish without also being mixed, and you also cannot be Nigerian without being mixed. Again, the context has been clarified in the beginning, mixed race. I'm saying this because mixed can mean different things. It can mean mixed heritage, which is not the same as mixed race, right? So I'm taking it as when the person says mixed, they mean mixed race. So therefore, I would say that being mixed is intrinsically the most fundamental identity, and it precedes the other identities. I am curious to hear your thoughts on this when you have a minute. I have a minute now, so I'm going to do it. I'm going to respond. I think about these things a lot since I am biracial myself with a similar background as you, Eastern European and African, Czech and Sudanese. Very cool mix, I love it. And not living in any of these countries. I live in Canada. I, for myself, would say that being mixed is definitely my most important identity, whether I want it or not. Very interesting question. And yes, I think I did say that being mixed race is not the most important identity to me. And when it comes to the questions that this person mentioned, yes, some Polish people are surprised when they hear me speak Polish. It's natural for them to be surprised, right? This is not offensive to me. These questions are there, but they don't change anything. They do not change my identity. I think this takes me to like the most important thing, which is your identity isn't dependent on what people think you are. It is not a variable. The most important thing that I want to say first and foremost is that people's perception is inconsequential to your identity. And that's where we need to begin. You cannot change your mind about what you are depending on what people think you are. Let's take mixed race, for example. Mixed race, the term itself and what this means is fairly understood in Europe, I would say. In Poland, people get it, like they would call me mulata, for instance, right? And they know what that means, right? You are both black and white. However, if you go to America, for instance, America, for the most part, believes in this one drop rule, which basically means that if one drop of your blood is black, you're black. So if you're in America, people might tell you you are not mixed, you are black because of that one drop rule. If you're in Europe, yes, people get what mixed race means. In London, for instance, whenever you are filling out a form, you have a bunch of different terms used to describe people. There is a box for the mixed race category. If you are in Ghana, let's say, they would say I'm white with pure conviction. Not just by calling me Obroni, but generally they would just say I am white. They would literally use the word, and they meant not just my mentality or the way I think, they literally meant my skin. Just because my skin isn't as dark as theirs, they categorize it as white. And when I say they, of course, not everybody, I'm not generalizing, but comparatively, most people would say that I'm white, even though I'm not. They put all sorts of people in the white category who aren't white. So what I'm trying to say is your identity, not just your racial identity, but your identity cannot be based on what somebody thinks, because as you move around this world, the perceptions will be different and people will say different things about you. And you will be so confused if you don't know what you are, if you don't know who you are, if every time you step into a different place, your perception about what you are or who you are changes because somebody said that you are something else than what you were in the country you had just left, right? To me, this is like the most important thing. Your identity, not even just racial, but general, your identity should not be based on people's perception of you. And when it comes to your racial identity, that's an objective thing, right? You are what you are. It is the same when it comes to me being Polish. I don't need anybody to tell me that I'm Polish. I know I'm Polish. I have a Polish passport to prove it. I speak Polish. Just because somebody is confused about my being Polish does not make me any less Polish. That's just their confusion that they need to overcome. But I am the one who introduces myself to the world based on facts, objective facts. They don't get to introduce me to me. And I really think mixed race people have to understand this, or you'll be confused forever. Because people have so many different opinions about what being mixed race is. So please, you are the one who introduces yourself to the world. The world does not get to tell you what you are or who you are. That's the most important thing that I am going to say here. So yes, I am objectively Polish, I am objectively Nigerian. That's that. And despite the questions, despite the surprise, despite the fact that I don't speak Nigerian as a language, any of the languages, like Yoruba is the tribe that my father comes from, it's not difficult to identify as Nigerian. I am that. It is not difficult for me to identify as Polish. I am that. And I don't need anyone, whether they are Polish or Nigerian, full-blooded. I don't need them to tell me, yes, we accept it, this is who you are. No, I am the one telling you who I am or what I am. And it is your decision what to do with this information. So yes, people's perception is inconsequential to your identity. First thing. Okay, now that we have that out of the way, I did say that mixed race is not the most important of my identities. And the reason why I would say that again is that's just my racial identity, which to me is the least consequential. Of course, I'm having these conversations and, you know, these terms like mixed race, black, white, and all that, those are terms that have been adopted by the society at large. So for me to be able to communicate with you, I have to use them. However, for me personally, the only racial category that matters is the human race. First of all, race as a concept is not something that always existed. That is something that was created for economic and social purposes, to control people, to conquer. Obviously, I'm talking specifically about colonialism and slavery. They had to find a way to justify how they treated their fellow human being. So this whole concept of race was invented. Please do correct me if I am wrong. However, as far as I know, race as a category, as a concept, is not something that always existed. It was created for a very specific purpose: to divide, to conquer, to control people, to abuse people. It's not just the black and white divide. I am in Kraków right now in Poland. Auschwitz or Oświęcim is literally a stone thrown away. I'm here with my family. My father is here, my two brothers and my sister. They went to Auschwitz today. Auschwitz is the perfect example of how the concept of race can lead to dehumanization and genocide. The Nazis used this invented idea of race to justify genocide, to justify persecution. I will never give the concept of race more than what it deserves. We can have conversations about it. We can say, okay, this person is mixed race and all that. I can have a conversation about race in descriptive terms or just as a superficial thing, but I will never give it more importance than other types of identities that I carry. You know, there are other identities that are more important to me than being mixed race. Again, Auschwitz, such a great example. The whole camp system was designed to carry out the plan of racial purification by the Nazis. How disgusting. So, in my eyes, giving too much importance to this concept of race is dangerous. This whole thing of, yes, I am mixed race is purely descriptive. Yes, of course, there are certain genetic things you can assign to somebody who is mixed race, but again, they are superficial. And there's this concept of intersectionality, where so many different sections of who you are meet together, creating who you really are as a person. So you cannot say that all mixed race people are this, or all white people are this, or all black people are this. Race is just one of the categories. If you ask me, it should not be given more importance than what it should be given, or it can become dangerous. So yes, I do not have that much respect for racial categorizations. Descriptively, yes, let's talk about it. It's kind of interesting, but that's where it ends. Okay, so let's move on. The reason why I say mixed race is less important than being Polish or Nigerian is because mixed race is purely a racial category. Polish or Nigerian are not purely racial. Yes, of course, most Poles belong to the Caucasian race. Most Nigerians belong to the Black African race, right? But these terms go so much deeper. Polish is a nationality. Ethnicity isn't just your race. It is your customs, it is traditions, it is the language, it's culture. Ethnicity is much more, is broader. It's not just about your race. When we say Polish, we have to consider culture, we have to consider language, we have to consider customs, so many different things. I can recognize a Polish person in the midst of white people by so many other things than just the color of their skin. So again, race is just that, it's just race, it's superficial, or worst case scenario, dangerous categorization. I'm not saying that being mixed race must remain superficial. I do understand that there are people who are trying to create this mixed race culture and make it more than just a superficial term. I understand why. I understand that this is an effect of being othered a lot of the times by other racial groups. But even if I was to turn this mixed race thing into a culture, it would be individual to me. It would be a mixture of Polish and Nigerian cultures. And even not only that, like I would add many others because I live all over the world. Like you don't choose where you are born, you don't choose who your parents are, but then when you are a grown-up, you can definitely choose who you become culturally. So yes, at this point, I am a grown person, and even my cultural identity is based on my choices. It is Polish, it is somehow Nigerian, but again, I embrace what I want to embrace, and I take away what I don't like, and I go to other places. There are things that I like in those other places that are not Poland or Nigeria, and I can embrace certain things because I choose to. So I'm not sure if you can create something like a mixed race culture. What would it be? I'm trying to understand what more is there in the word mixed race outside race, because I don't see any culture in this word. It's just about race. The term itself tells you this. It's just about race. There is nothing else in it. But when I say Nigerian, I see culture, I see languages, I see nationality, I see a passport. I know that with a Nigerian passport, I can travel ECOWAS. I mean, there are challenges there, Nigerians know, but you know what I mean. There are rights that come with being Nigerian, like tangible benefits and obligations, and of course, you know, sometimes not benefits, but the same with Polish. Let's just say Polish. I know what tangible benefits I have from being Polish. With a Polish passport, I can work, live in Poland, I can travel, I can live in any EU country, I can live in any of them. I can travel to them without a visa. You know, those things are tangible. I cannot do any of that on a mixed race passport if such existed. So this whole concept of your mixed race identity should be more important than your Polish identity or Nigerian identity, it cannot be. How can it be? You know, these are completely different categories and shouldn't even be compared. I didn't want to compare it when I said that mixed race is not that deep to me, but it really isn't. Like, there are things that are so much more important than me being mixed. Ethnically, in some ways, you can say that I am both Polish and Nigerian, but I would say that I am more Polish than Nigerian because I grew up in Poland. I am culturally more Polish than I am Nigerian. I can speak Polish fluently. I don't speak any of the Nigerian languages. So culturally, I would say that I am more Polish. Poland is definitely home. I feel very comfortable here. I am not asking for permission to be Polish. So to summarize, Polish and Nigerian, these things are tangible. They are nationalities. I have benefits and privileges based on being Polish, for instance, that are tangible. They are not based on perception. They are not superficial, like the ones that come with being mixed race. Which is why, most definitely, your nationality, I believe, is a much more important identity than what your racial identity is. You said it must be difficult for you to identify as Nigerian since you only spent 2 weeks there. It is not difficult. It's an objective fact. I am Nigerian. I have a Nigerian passport. It doesn't matter if I've been to Nigeria or not, if I speak the language or not. It's an objective fact. Somebody may feel confused about it or may say, oh, you are not Nigerian enough, but you know what? I have a passport to prove that I am Nigerian, and no, it's not difficult. Again, you have to break it down into different concepts. If we are talking in cultural terms, then, well, yes, someone might say you are not very Nigerian. I might agree with that, like you are a lot more Polish. Yes, I will agree with that. I'm culturally more Polish than Nigerian. But Nigerian, the term itself, goes deeper than just culture. And it goes deeper than just race. Nationality, it's tangible. My father is Nigerian. Yes, I am Nigerian. It's not difficult to identify as one. Equally, people being confused about me speaking Polish so well. It is not confusing to me. I grew up here. I understand the country. I move around the country very comfortably. It is home to me. And somebody else's confusion is not my confusion. I do not let them project their lack of understanding onto me. I know who I am, and who I am does not change because somebody doesn't know who I am or what I am in this case, right? Can I just be Polish or can I just be Nigerian without acknowledging that I am mixed? Yes, I can. Again, it depends on the context. If we are talking about nationality, I can absolutely just be Polish without being Nigerian. It doesn't really matter whether people ask questions or not. Sorry, without being mixed. I can just be Polish or I can just be Nigerian without acknowledging also that I am mixed, because it's not every environment that cares about whether you are mixed or not. For instance, Nigerians believe that if your father is Nigerian, you are Nigerian. Your father is Nigerian, you are Nigerian. That's what they will tell you. Mixed race is a category that is not as relevant to them. Can I just be Polish without being mixed? Again, it depends on the context. If we are talking about my genetic makeup, no, I can't. If we are talking culturally, yes, I can. If we are talking as a nationality, yes, I can. I can just be Polish without acknowledging that I am mixed. As a matter of fact, there is this interesting thing, again, in Poland, where Poland allows dual citizenship. However, it expects the citizens of Poland to use Polish travel documents when entering the country and when they are in Poland. Like, I'm not supposed to be using my Nigerian passport while I am here. Let me give another example. Obviously, as a Nigerian, I would need a visa to enter, but let's say I was German as well. I would still be expected to use my Polish papers while I am in Poland. This reflects this legal principle called, Master Nationality Rule or something like that. So in Poland, Polish dual citizens are treated exclusively as Polish citizens. Yes, I can just be considered Polish without taking into account that I am mixed race. These are different categories. Which one is more important than the other? To me, mixed race is not that important. It's just not that deep. It's purely superficial. All these others, like Nigerian, Polish, are more important to me. Let me find that line. It seems to me that you cannot just be Polish without also being mixed. Again, it depends on what categories you are speaking in. It sounds a little bit like saying you cannot just be Polish without being a woman. You know, yes, that would be true if we are considering both nationality and gender. So what are we talking about here? If we are just talking about race, Polish isn't really a race, predominantly. Yes, Polish people belong to a race of people, Caucasians, right? But Polish isn't a race. Predominantly, it is an ethnic group, it is a nationality. There is a belonging to a race there, but that's not the main thing. Having said all that, you know, I am talking from my perspective. You said I am biracial myself with a similar background as you, Eastern European and African, Czech and Sudanese, and not living in any of these countries. I live in Canada. I want to acknowledge that I don't know where you grew up. I don't know if you grew up in Sudan or the Czech Republic or Canada. If you grew up in Canada and you don't have a strong relationship with any of those other countries that you are from in terms of your heritage, then I can understand why you might see yourself as mixed more than anything else, more than Czech or more than Sudanese. I can understand that. So again, it all depends on the context as well. It depends on the context, and the word that comes to my mind is intersectionality again, which reminds us again that our lived experiences don't depend on just one factor like race. So yes, if you grew up in Canada and you do not have a strong connection to the Czech Republic or Sudan, I could understand why you may feel like mixed is the most important one of your identities. Yes, so I guess I just want to summarize by saying that race is not a construct that I have that much respect for, which is why I will always say that mixed race, yes, is what I see myself as when we are discussing race, right? But it's not the most important conversation to me. It's not the most important identity at all. People seem to be confused about what this means. People seem to have so many different opinions. So I just hope to clarify those opinions, and I talk about it to hopefully help someone who is mixed race and maybe feels confused because everybody tries to tell them what they are or what they are not. That's the reason why I have these conversations, not because this category is that deeply important to me. It's just race, it's superficial. And yes, I will say that being Polish or being Nigerian is more important, more tangible. Race is a construct that was created not for positive reasons. The world might be better off without it, to be honest. But since we live in this world that decided to accept these terms, I just use some of these racial terms to be understood, not because I assign that much importance to racial identity. At least not in isolation, on a personal level. And if someone else does, then feel free to comment, feel free to say why it's so important to you. But to me, it's one of many and not that important. In conclusion, I would like to say identity is not defined by other people's perception of you. Racial identity is constant, not variable. I am talking about the objective truth. My father, Black African, my mother, white European, I am mixed race. To be understood, broadly understood by the society, by you who are watching, this is a constant. That's never going to change, even if the description by the American census changes tomorrow again. Or anywhere else, right? I'm just using America because that's what happens a lot there, and there's a lot of conversation about it, and there's this one drop rule. Whenever I have a mixed race conversation on this channel, whenever there's drama, it usually comes from America. people saying there's no such thing as mixed race. There is. Objectively, there is. If you want to categorize people like this, black, white, whatever, there is mixed race. There is. It exists. It's not going away. It's not a variable. It's a constant. And that's just how it is. The most important conclusion is that race, to me, is of lower importance than nationality or cultural identity. And I hope I have explained why, the many reasons why. That said, I do acknowledge where you might be coming from. Again, intersectionality. I don't know where you grew up. I don't know your experiences. So what is important to me may be less important to you. What is very important to you may be less important to me. I respect that. As long as we don't hurt another. And as long as we stick to what's objectively true, I think as well, because these days people get so confused about so many different things where there is no need to be confused. And people dissect things they don't need to dissect. Thank you so much for watching another Mixed Race Conversation. Please join this conversation. Tell me what you think. Tell me if this made sense or didn't. And I hope I answered your question. I didn't know how else to answer but to break it down into different contexts. I do think we really need to consider context. And when I was saying that the mixed race identity is not the most important one, this is what I meant. The way I answered is the way I have it in my head. And I hope it makes sense to you. Thank you so much for watching again, and I'll see you in another video. I see you and your lineage spanning 4 generations.